Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Alma Angeles. You're watching Eagle News International. On today's program, Toronto is bracing for what could be its biggest snowfall of a season as a winter storm pummeling much of southern Ontario Friday night is set to dump up to 35 centimeters of snow on the city. At least 17 people were killed, dozens injured in Indonesia's capital after a massive blaze broke out at a state-run fuel storage depot before firefighters brought it under control. President Marcos Jr. said fast and affordable internet is now mandatory to boost the country's international competitiveness. And a prominent lawyer in the U.S. will spend the rest of his life in prison after he was found guilty of shooting dead his wife and son at their mansion back in 2021. First in our news, Toronto is bracing for what could be its biggest snowfall of the season as a winter storm pummeling much of southern Ontario Friday night is set to dump up to 35 centimeters of snow on the city. Take a look. Now, Environment Canada is discouraging Toronto residents from non-essential travel on Friday evening as the winter storm descends on the city, bringing heavy and blowing snow. The Federal Weather Agency says the snow is expected to reduce visibility significantly. The snow could fall at a rate of 5 to 8 centimeters per hour, leading to hazardous travel conditions and possible isolated power outages. Environment Canada also said the most dangerous time to travel will be between 9 p.m. and midnight. The storm is prompting a number of cancellations. In a tweet on Friday, WestJet said it was canceling all flights arriving and departing from Pearson International Airport as of 8 p.m. ET due to the storm. The cancellations will continue until Saturday morning, depending on conditions, according to the airline. The Greater Toronto Airports Authority, meanwhile, is urging travelers to check their flights before leaving for the airport, saying they should expect delays and cancellations. And also really bad weather in parts of the southern United States after things got dangerous. 2 people died, thousands of people have no power there. They're in the dark as we speak. At least 1 tornado reported in Kentucky, and the biggest threat in this area are wind gusts that are of hurricane force. Kentucky is already in a state of emergency, the governor making that call. National Guards and police are already on standby. The storm is moving east after it slammed Texas and Louisiana. Hundreds of thousands of people in the dark, with states like Alabama and Tennessee getting the worst of it. In other news, more than 27,000 people have been evacuated in the Malaysian states of Johor, Pahang, Negeri, Sembilan, and Melaka, when their homes were hit by floods due to heavy rain brought by the northeast monsoon. Take a look. According to the national news agency Bernama, Johor is the worst hit state, with more than 25,000 people in relief centers on Thursday morning, compared with 9,162 on Wednesday night. Now, the Star reported that all 10 districts in Johor have been hit by floods, with more than 25,000 people having to be evacuated, a 4-fold increase from the 5,679 flood victims recorded just 20 hours before. Johor Chief Minister On Hafiz Ghazi said an emergency meeting with all agencies was held on Wednesday night following the critical flood situation in the state. The Malaysian Meteorological Department forecasted that rain will hit several parts of Johor from Thursday afternoon to Friday night. According to the Drainage and Irrigation Department, the water levels of 16 rivers in Johor have exceeded danger levels as of 11 a.m. on Thursday. 2 rivers which have exceeded danger levels the most, namely Sungai Lenik and Sungai Gemas, are located in Segamat and have breached the danger level by 2.5 meters and 1.96 meters, respectively. Floods are an annual phenomenon in Malaysia due to the northeast monsoon that brings heavy rain from November to March. Now, at least 17 people were killed, dozens injured in Indonesia's capital after a massive blaze broke out at a state-run fuel storage depot before firefighters brought it under control. Take a look. Now, the Indonesian government would contribute to the treatment of the injured. Erick Thohir, the country's Minister of State-Owned Enterprises, expressed his condolences for those killed and injured. Footage broadcast on TV showed people screaming and fleeing through narrow roads with a raging inferno in the sky behind them. Firefighters were also shown rushing to the scene to control the blaze as ambulance workers transported body bags to hospitals. Firefighters initially received reports a pipe had burst at the depot, and officers quickly worked to contain the blaze from reaching nearby residential areas. Jakarta's main fire station said it had deployed 51 units, more than 250 firefighters, to the Pampang depot in North Jakarta. Delegates to a global conference on saving the world's oceans pledged $19 billion, the most country Panama said Friday. The total included a $6 billion commitment from the U.S., announced on Thursday by White House climate envoy John Kerry. Let's listen more.
The climate crisis and the ocean crisis are really one and the same. We cannot fully address one without the other. 51% of the oxygen that we breathe, at least today, comes from the ocean. And we have parts of the ocean where there are dead zones, where nothing grows, where there is no oxygen, in more than 500 different parts of this planet. The mission now is to get more serious, to come together, to double down, to pick up the pace, to implement real projects and deploy real money, which enables us to further enhance global ambition, hold everyone accountable, and build the security for the future that our citizens demand and have a right to.
Now, the U.S. package features 77 projects. The U.S. package features 77 projects to protect the high seas this year. Almost $5 billion of that will be dedicated to combating climate change, the U.S. Embassy in Panama said in a statement. On Thursday, the EU announced it would dedicate 816.5 million euros to ocean-related projects this year. To other news now, a prominent lawyer in the U.S. will spend the rest of his life in prison after he was found guilty of shooting dead his wife and son at their mansion in 2021. Prosecutors said Alex Murdaugh admitted the killing in South Carolina to distract attention from financial crimes. He was found guilty overnight and in the past few hours has been sentenced. Take a look.
Mr. Murdaugh, you now having been found guilty of 2 counts of murder involving your wife and your son, 2 counts of possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime, the burden now comes upon the court to impose a sentence. All right, Mr. Murdaugh, I sentence you to the State Department of Corrections on each of the murder indictments in the murder of your wife, Maggie Murdaugh. I sentence you for a term of the rest of your natural life. For the murder of Paul Murdaugh, whom you probably loved so much, I sentence you to prison for murdering him for the rest of your natural life. Those sentences will run consecutive.
Now, following the reading of the verdict, which the jury reached after less than 3 hours of deliberation in a South Carolina court, the defense requested a mistrial, which Judge Clifton Newman quickly denied. He said the evidence of guilt is overwhelming. Murdaugh, who wore a blazer and showed little emotion, was led out of the courtroom in handcuffs, concluding a complex case that has often touched on the bizarre. The jury heard how Murdaugh murdered his family members on June 7, 2021, after realizing his years of stealing millions from his law firm and from clients to feed his hidden opioid addiction was about to go public. While evidence put Murdaugh at the scene shortly before the murders, the guns were never found and there was no blood-stained clothing or other direct evidence that could prove he was the killer. In other news, President Marcos Jr. said fast and affordable internet is now mandatory to boost the country's international competitiveness. During the 23rd International Cable Congress, an exhibit of the Federation of International Cable, Television and Telecommunications Association of the Philippines, or FICTAP, at the Manila Hotel, the president noted it would cost the country a lot of opportunities if it will lag behind in terms of internet service. Let's listen in.
And cable internet industry has been at the forefront of revolutionizing and modernizing our society, and it has gone into every aspect of our daily life. It has not only survived and thrived in the digital age, but also served as an important platform that helped our people survive during calamities, during emergencies. This crucial role of your industry was highlighted and shown in its true importance during the recent COVID-19 pandemic. During these difficult times, you served as a communications conduit for food distribution, purchase and transport of essential commodities, the facilitation of health and telemedicine concerns in the rural areas, amongst others. As we all know, COVID changed everything. Everything now is done online, and we, unfortunately, in government, have fallen behind. As you hold this important Congress, I ask you to closely collaborate with the government in pursuing initiatives for the digitization of our services, the expansion of our MSMEs, and the establishment of information and communications technologies in remote areas in the country. If we are to sustain our soaring economy, we must help small to medium-scale industries in using digital platforms to improve their services and to connect with their consumers.
Thousands of U.S. soldiers joined Thai and South Korean troops on a beach in Thailand for one of the largest annual military exercises in Asia. Now in its 42nd year, Cobra Gold brings thousands of forces from the U.S., Thailand, and other countries together for days of training. Take a look.
Thai, U.S., and South Korea, we had a good cooperation in the region. If we have the tension in the region, we have know each other and can cooperation with the forces. We can fight with the problem and the uncertainty situation.
The objective of this training is for us to come together as one team to strengthen our skills and train together across these complex operations. Amphibious exercises are one of the most complex operations that we can execute, and so training them together as a team makes all of us stronger as a partner nations force. You know, this is the biggest Cobra Gold we've had since 2020 due to the past couple years with the COVID pandemic. So this is the first time since 2020 that we have been able to have a Cobra Gold of this scale, this magnitude, and it's just a great opportunity for us to train alongside our partners, friends, and allies here in the Kingdom of Thailand.
Now, Washington has sought to strengthen military alliances in the region in the face of an assertive China. American, Thai, and South Korean soldiers launched a joint amphibious operation near a Navy base in the east of the country in which jet fighters screamed overhead and tanks rumbled over the sand. Personnel from Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, South Korea, and Japan also took part in the exercises, which span air, land, and sea and feature a jungle survival course. With around 6,000 members, the U.S. delegation was more than 4 times the size of the contingent sent in 2022. Last month, the U.S. and the Philippines also agreed to resume joint patrols in the disputed South China Sea and struck a deal to give U.S. troops access to 4 more military bases in the Philippines. Seoul and Washington have recently bolstered joint military drills following a year of sanctions busting weapons tests by North Korea, infuriating Pyongyang, which sees such joint exercises as rehearsals for invasion. To the U.S., we're still a year away from ballots being cast, but in the U.S., we already have a slate of campaign travel, a couple of hot-button issues, and even a fair share of candidate-to-candidate attacks. Let's listen in.
Our enemies think they can walk all over us. I mean, did you ever think that Americans would look to the sky and see a Chinese spy balloon looking back down at us? It was a national embarrassment. Make no mistake, Communist China is the strongest, most disciplined enemy we've ever faced. We need to hold China accountable, and we need to start with COVID.
The basic idea that each of us is endowed by our Creator with these unalienable rights and we are equal in the eyes of the Lord is the antidote to the poisonous lie of equity, wokeness, and identity politics. We're going to do better.
Reasons that equity lovers don't like people like me is because they say, you're not supposed to grow up in the environment that you grew up in and be successful because this is a horrible racist country. And you simply aren't supposed to be successful in that setting. What a bunch of crap. You know, that...
Guys, we got to fight back. I've said it on this probably stage last year. It's like, they could take out the most powerful man in the world, the President of the United States, like they did to my father. Because if you have one guy going out there by himself, all the slings, all the arrows can be put on that person. They cannot do it to us if there's 175 million Americans willing to stand up for themselves, for decency, for our values. I mean, think about what we're up against. A major U.S. bank was able to cancel, and just canceled, our ability to do banking. We didn't even get a call. It was like getting broken up with by text. Like, no reason. It didn't matter whether, hey, you're letting people, it wasn't, again, we're not even creating news. We're aggregating it. Check out MXM. You'll actually see both sides of the story, and you can formulate your opinion. And I'm so confident that we're right on our side that I'm willing to actually let you see the leftist viewpoint, because you will realize that they are insane. Why aren't they willing to show our side? Because they too realize that they're insane.
Now, former U.S. President Donald Trump hit out at rivals for the 2024 Republican White House nomination for skipping the country's largest gathering of conservatives as he talked up his own keynote address to the forum this weekend. But Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and former Vice President Mike Pence, who led the pack chasing Trump for the nomination, will not be among them. The only reason certain candidates won't be going to CPAC, he said, is because the crowds have no interest in anything they have to say. Now, Trump wrote this on his Truth Social platform. They've heard it all before, and they don't want to hear it again. Meanwhile, U.S. President Joe Biden delivered a rallying cry to fellow Democrats, offering a glimpse of the president's likely re-election message as he also prepares to officially announce his plans for 2024. Take a look.
In addition, we're finally giving Medicare the power to negotiate lower drug prices, bringing down the cost of prescription drugs. And folks might not know what the trench you're digging around your community is. We're going to let them know ahead of time. It's for broadband, high-speed broadband that's affordable. And all that's going to create hundreds of thousands of good-paying union jobs. But as much as we've done, we have a lot of unfinished business as well to finish the job that needs to be done. We can't stop working to restore the child tax credit permanently. I know as well as you, the MAGA Republicans are not going to get on board for most of these things. But that leaves a lot of Republicans that are still left. No, by the way, watch. I predict, watch what happens. Republicans can help make a significant majority in some of these things.
Meanwhile, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is warning about a rise in extensively drug-resistant cases of the bacterial infection Shigella, a major cause of inflammatory diarrhea. The agency is calling the new form of the stomach bug, which causes the diarrheal condition known as shigellosis, a serious public health threat. Evidence suggests the illness is spreading among gay and bisexual men, in particular, apparently through sexual contact, both in the U.S. and abroad. Shigella, which is highly infectious, spreads when infected fecal matter enters the mouth or the nose, including through sexual activity or because of poor hand washing after diaper changes, unsanitary food handling, or swimming in contaminated water. The infection is typically seen also in young children. The European Center for Disease Prevention and Control issued an alert Friday about 221 confirmed and 37 possible cases among people who traveled to Cabo Verde off West Africa since September and returned home to about a dozen nations, including the U.S. The infection can cause prolonged and debilitating illness, with about 6,400 U.S. patients needing hospitalization each year. Death from shigellosis is rare, although it's more likely among people who are immunocompromised, such as by untreated HIV or chemotherapy for cancer. In tonight's other news, 59 migrants, including a baby just a few months old, died after their overloaded boat sank early on Sunday in stormy seas off Italy's southern Calabria region. Our European correspondent, Mia San Vicente, reports from Rome, Italy.
At least 59 migrants, including 11 children and a newborn baby, died after their overloaded boat sank early on Sunday in stormy seas off of Italy's southern Calabria region. Crotone's Rescue Center said that 12 of the 59 victims were children, including a newborn, and 33 were women. Italian Coast Guard said that the overloaded vessel broke up in violent waves off Crotone, with one officer reporting that a suspected people smuggler had been arrested by the security forces.
Inizialmente sappiamo che molte persone sono ancora disperse e vengono cercate, alla famiglia continuano ad arrivare anche oggi, sono arrivate famiglie dall'estero, chiamate, messaggi di persone che continuano a cercare familiari e quindi il numero dei dispersi continua ad aumentare, quindi al momento non abbiamo una stima di persone che erano sulla barca.
Wooden debris was strewn across around 100 meters or 328 feet of beach where many rescuers were deployed.
Prima di me erano 4:30, 5 meno un quarto. Mi ha chiamato, mi ha detto Vince vieni qui al fiume che secondo me c'è successo qualcosa, vedo delle urla. Allora mi sono svegliato, mi sono vestito, dopo 5 minuti ero sul posto, quando siamo arrivati lì c'erano persone che gridavano, c'erano delle tavole, era buio, non capivo niente. Quando ho acceso la luce del telefonino c'erano dei morti per terra, ma c'erano bambini, soprattutto bambini.
Far-right Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, who came to power in October vowing to stem the flow of migrants reaching Italian shores, said, quote, the government is committed to preventing migrant boat departures and with them this type of tragedy, unquote. President Sergio Mattarella said a large number of these migrants came from Afghanistan and Iran, fleeing very harsh conditions. He urged the international community to make a strong commitment to eradicate the causes of these migrations: wars, persecution, terrorism, and poverty. The government in Rome has accused its European partners of not taking in sufficient numbers of migrants seeking to enter the bloc. This week, Meloni's right-wing coalition government pushed through Parliament a controversial new law that forces migrant aid charities to perform only one life-saving rescue mission at a time. Critics say the measure violates international law, and by cutting the number of rescue ships able to operate will result in more people drowning in the central Mediterranean, which is considered the most dangerous crossing for people seeking asylum in Europe. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen called for progress on a stalled reform on EU rules on providing asylum for those in need. Reporting from Rome, Italy, I am Jeromia San Vicente Abad, reminding you to stay alert because we live in extraordinary times.
Thanks, Mia. In other news, Egypt's oil ministry has announced a rise in the price of fuel effective Thursday as the Arab world's most populous nation struggles with inflation and is sapped dry of dollars. The Egyptian economy was hit hard after Russia's February 2022 invasion of Ukraine unsettled global investors, leading them to pull billions out of the North African country. The war has sent wheat prices spiraling heavily, impacting Egypt, one of the world's largest grain importers, and piling pressure on its foreign currency reserves. In under a year, the Egyptian pound has lost half of its value, propelling annual inflation in the import-dependent country to 26.5% in January rather. Figures in February showed. Of the $34.2 billion in Cairo's foreign reserves, a 20% drop from February 2022 showed $28 billion are deposits from wealthy Gulf allies. Back here in the country, the city government of Marikina, in coordination with the Department of Education, or DepEd, issued a directive suspending face-to-face classes from March 6 to 11 in all levels, both in private and public schools. Posted on their social media account, Marikina Public Information Office said the move is in anticipation of the supposed transport strike and its subsequent effect on the commuting public, especially students attending their classes. Meanwhile, the city government of Taguig, under the administration of Mayor Lani Cayetano, has offered libreng sakay or free ride for commuters who will be affected by the transport strike throughout Metro Manila and nearby provinces on March 6 to the 12th, starting at 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. The White House has directed federal agencies that have 30 days to remove TikTok from all government-issued devices. Our North American correspondent Jeff Sanidad reports from Washington, D.C.
The White House gave federal agencies 30 days to remove the TikTok app from all government-issued devices. This is in compliance with a ban ordered by the U.S. Congress. The memo went out on Monday. It calls on government agencies to remove and disallow installations of the app on agency-owned or operated IT devices. It also prohibits internet traffic from such devices to the popular social media platform.
TikTok, poses a problem and an issue. And so we have concerns about that as it relates to Americans' data, collecting Americans' data, and the potential national security risk. And we've been very, very clear on that. What I can say is that the president has been very clear about his concerns with apps like TikTok. And I just laid out the CDC reporting and how it's affecting our children. And the importance of making sure that we deal with this in a real way, which is why he put forth his unity agenda and laying out ways that we can deal with an issue that is affecting the emotional growth and also of our children.
Chinese tech giant ByteDance owns TikTok. Critics express concerns that the app might be used for spying or propaganda. National security concerns over alleged Chinese spying have grown over the past month after a Chinese balloon flew in U.S. airspace. China's foreign ministry says it is strongly opposed to the United States TikTok ban.
美国作为世界头号大国，竟然如此惧怕一款青年人喜欢的应用软件，未免太不自信了。
Jeff Sanidad, Washington, D.C., Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
We go back to Egypt, where we may be closer to solving a mystery that has been millennia in the making. Officials have revealed the discovery of a long corridor inside the last of the 7 wonders of the ancient world still standing. Take a look.
الهرم اتبنى ازاي. You have this internal structure of the pyramid.
Major important secrets had been revealed by technology for the first time. The discovery of a 9 meters tunnel and 2 meters and 10 centimeters wide, found behind the main entrance of the Great Pyramid. And this discovery will reveal to us many important facts about Khufu and his pyramid.
This is the corridor. This is 2 photos of the corridor. الهرم ده ما كانش مفتوح زي ما انتم شايفين، الحته دي كانت مستخبيه.
ان انا بعتقد طول عمري ان حجره الدفن الخاصه بالملك خوفو لم يعثر عليها حتى الان. وانا بعتقد ان هناك احتمال كبير جدا، وده اكيد، ان التنل بيحمي حاجه. بيحمي حاجه ايه؟ في اعتقادي الشخصي ممكن تكون حجره الدفن الحقيقيه الخاصه بهرم الملك خوفو.
Let's head on now to the island of Sabah, where Raymard, our correspondent there, explored a marine conservation area. Take a look.
Join me as I visit Kota Kinabalu in Sabah, Malaysia.
Sabah, Malaysia is a state of Malaysia located a few kilometers from the southern end of the Philippines. Its capital, Kota Kinabalu, is just a short flight from Manila. Apart from its flora and fauna, Sabah is also famous for its beautiful beaches and bountiful oceans filled with exotic marine life. Recently, we have visited the Borneo Reef, Southeast Asia's largest pontoon or man-made island located in Tunku Abdul Rahman National Park or TARP. This island can be reached by a 15-minute boat ride from Jesselton Port in the mainland Kota Kinabalu.
We launched in the year 2020, and we are proud to say the JSK pontoon is now officially the largest pontoon in Southeast Asia, okay, measuring at a length of 35.5 meters, the width of 25.5 meters, and we are standing at a height of 12 meters.
Upon arrival, you will be greeted by the cold sea breeze that complements the grandeur of the ocean. Activities await as you step in the pontoon: kayaking, inflatable obstacle course, and helmet diving, to name a few. But if you are afraid of getting wet, there's also an underwater observatory where you can enjoy the fishes without leaving the pontoon. What's more is we have been visited by a long-tailed macaque monkey who swam from the nearby island, adding attraction to the guests. Taking care of this structure is no easy task, especially during stormy weather.
We are supported by 4 main chain anchors. Okay. Fortunately, during the storm itself, the only damage it happened was to the inflatable water park.
Hi everyone! Let's go to KK, Kota Kinabalu!
Another hidden gem of Sabah is the Mantanani Island, in which you will need to travel by van for 2 hours from the mainland to the town of Kota Belud, and then another 45-minute boat ride to reach the island. The entire journey is tiring, but upon reaching the island, the tranquil beauty will refresh your senses. First activity is snorkeling from 2 of the island's diving spots. Second is the island hopping, where you will see its natural cave formations. And lastly, a visit to the sand dunes called the Dragon's Tail, as the sand moves like a tail due to the winds. The natural beauty of these places will not last if we don't take care of it. Even a small action can cause a big outcome.
We do not encourage guests to feed the sea creatures, and of course definitely no physical contact. We're sending a message that just like us humans, we always allow a certain angle so that marine life can flourish in their natural habitat.
They cannot step on the corals, or maybe taking out all the sea marines, everything, whatever it is inside the water, they cannot bring it up. They only can see.
Reporting from Sabah, Malaysia, this is Raymart Gutierrez reminding you to stay alert because we live in extraordinary times.
Jom jalan-jalan di Kota Kinabalu.
Thanks, Raymard. As always, I'll end the day on a thoughtful note. Our ability to look back and smile at our past is proof that God's plan is to keep us moving forward. This has been Eagle News International. I'm Alma Angeles. Stay alert, stay informed, because we live in extraordinary times. Good night.